This baby hits 80 miles per hour. They're gonna see some serious shit.
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the VRG Virtual Race League Endurance Series season opener, season 5 tonight at Daytona International Speedway. We're changing things up a little bit here in season 5. We're switching over to the GTEe cars. We're going to be running 45 minutes of qualifying this evening, followed by 75 minutes of road racing here at Daytona International Speedway. Throwing in a pit stop into the mix here, so we're going to see how that shakes things up here in the field. We're going to do 45 minutes qualifying here. We're going to bounce around the field, show you who's out there, seeing how they're doing this evening, followed by 75 minutes of racing here at Daytona International Speedway. This is Ian Wisman with the VRG, the Vintage Racer Group, welcoming you to the VRL Virtual Racer League. I'll be with you this evening. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to share, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, share with your friends. Sit back, fix yourself a drink, make some popcorn, and enjoy the races tonight. Thanks everybody for joining us. Be back with you in just a little bit. Currently riding along on the nose of Ralph Padgington, an ELB Racing Racer Walshco sponsored Ferrari, one half of the ELB Racing team. VRL chair Jim Caramanis, the other part of this dynamic duo. Changing it up here in Season 5, GTE cars on the order these next 4 races. Also, an endurance race, 75 minutes of racing for each of our 4 events here in Season 5. 45 minutes of qualifying, 75 minutes worth of racing, and a pit stop thrown in there as well. Quite a few things to change things up from our last season in the Skippy F2000s. Expect it to be a wild ride here, and expect the pit stops to definitely shake things up. Depending upon how they work their pit stop strategies, should make for an exciting time. Certainly everybody's going to have to get used to being in these powerhouse GTE cars as compared to the Skippy F2000s. Turn 1 is probably where you want to make sure you keep your eyes during the race this evening. Get a little too anxious in the first couple of laps where you still got cold tires. That turn 1 is pretty difficult to get right. So we'll see if our drivers exercise a bit of caution as they get scrubbed in here to these GTEs. Jim Caramanis currently out in the Ferrari. Ian Ditson joining us. I gather he's home for a bit from college. Good to see him back out there, giving everybody a run for their money. Expect Ian to be fast this evening, giving Stefan in the top of the grid here a run. See who's going to challenge for the championship here in Season 5 of the VRG VRL. We'd like to thank you for joining us out there in Facebook and YouTube land. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, share with your friends and family. Sit back and enjoy. We got 45 minutes of qualifying, followed by 75 minutes of racing action here at Daytona International Speedway, the VRG Virtual Racer League. This is Ian Wisman, back with you in a bit. Picking up Dave Fitzgerald here in his Gulf wheel liveried Chevy Corvette. I believe this is the C8R. New to iRacing and new to Season 5 here. So Dave's stretching the legs out there in that Corvette. We got a nice mix of Ferraris out there, a couple of Porsches, some BMWs. Scrolling through the rest of the field, we got at least 2 Corvettes out there this evening. And we got one out in the Ford GT, Carduz Bay. So really mixing it up here tonight with this field of cars out here. It's a bit different from our Skippy F2000 from the last couple of seasons. These cars have some infinite adjustability. Expect everybody's probably going to be sticking with a rather high downforce setup while they get used to these GTE cars here at this super speedway here at Daytona. Particularly because you got, you want to balance that high speed, low downforce on the big high bank sections of the track. Make sure you got it to stick when you come down into turn 1, 2, and 3, because you need it there. So it's a fine balance, trading off some of that top line speed here as we watch Dave get up onto the banking here. And then being able to woe it down for the infield section. So looking forward to some exciting stuff here. We'll bounce around a little bit more. Again, thank you for joining us on YouTube and Facebook land. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. This is Ian Wisman with the VRG VRL. Back with you in a little bit. Bit of synchronized spinning there between Darren Treacle, and I believe that might be Ian Ditson backed into the tire ball there. Ian taking it back to the pits there. Darren resuming. We also watched Dave Fitzgerald just a moment ago in the Gulf Oil Ford. Have a bit of a shunt there coming through too. Still getting used to these cars here. Had a practice session last week. Seemed to go reasonably well for everybody, but again, big difference from the Skippy F2000s to these GTE cars. Pick up with Darren here as he comes down to the start-finish line. Take a ride inside the cockpit with him around Daytona International here this evening. Looking for Darren to be quick. 7th Appa currently at the top of the timing tower with a minute 42.071. Ian Ditson just behind, a minute 42.932. Looking for Darren to set a time this time around and see where he stacks up. Apologies for that one, Darren. Looks like a bit of the cameraman's curse there. Wanted to see you tackle one, but as everybody watching can see, that turn one's pretty tricky, especially because you've had to hammer down for the better part of most of this course. So getting it low down for one, making sure you can handle that, can be a tricky proposition. Pick up Stefan Vappa here out in the Ferrari this evening. Ferrari tends to be a bit more evenly balanced than some of the other cars. Generally, a car one can adapt themselves to a bit quicker. Doesn't have quite the handling oddities that some of the other cars do. The BMW in particular tends to be pretty tail happy, so if you're running a low downforce setup in BMW, that can be tricky. Ferrari generally just seems to be better planted. And probably a little quicker down the straightaways. At least it's been in practice. A pretty quick car up here on the banking. Stefan, of course, being champion, I believe 2 seasons. I should check that. It may be 3 seasons in a row. We've got 4 races here in season 5 in this endurance racing. 75-minute races for each one of these. So we'll see if Stefan can hold on and fend people off and pick up another trophy here with the VRG VRL. Joining me up here in the broadcast booth for our Season 5 opener here at Daytona International Speedway, Steve Ficacci. Welcome back to the broadcast booth. Steve, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Happy belated Thanksgiving. And,
thank you, sir.
Looking forward to the race tonight.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a big change from the skippies we've been running, and at a big course here at Daytona International Speedway, obviously suited to the GTEs, which we've moved to, but a horse of a different color here this evening. Steve, what do you think we're going to see?
You know, we're adding a lot, I think, to what these guys have to manage. You know, we're going to a much longer race. Fuel tanks are going to only get us about a half hour, so we're looking at 2 pit stops. That's something new. These cars, while looking similar and kind of driving similar to the GT3s, they don't have the ABS and the traction control. They only have traction control in this case. So they're a little bit tougher to drive. So it's going to be a little bit more for them to manage. Daytona is a very fast track, so you typically trim all the downforce off, and the car just drives very light in the corners, and it doesn't have a very confident feel. So it's going to be a challenge for them tonight to 75 minutes of fast driving with no mistakes and pit stops, and it's going to be a little bit of chaos, I feel, at times.
Yeah, I'm certainly curious to see how we handle the pit stops this evening, because that's going to be an entirely new one. Of course, you know, you take a pit stop if you have a big shunt, but to actually do it in race trim and make sure you manage your time accordingly is going to be interesting to see whether folks get that out of the way early or if they're going to run it down to the end and come for a splash and dash. So certainly some racecraft here to be witnessed.
Yeah, it's something tough too. I mean, you often focus so much on lap speed. You don't always practice the pit stops, and there can be quite a bit of time in just getting that right. And if you go into a pit stop situation and you don't really charge the pit entry, you're not on the rev limiter right away, you don't hit your box quite right. I mean, that time can add up. So being on top of your game just on that one lap can be a big difference in time. I mean, there can be 5, 6, 7 seconds there between really attacking it and being a little lackadaisical.
Well, we're about 30 minutes into this 45-minute qualifying session here this evening. No practice beforehand, though we did have practice last week, so everybody kind of cut their teeth on these cars. So we'll run 45 minutes qualifying, followed by 75 minutes of racing here. And as Steve just said, we're going to have a pit stop, which is new to everybody here. We'll see how they all handle that. Interesting mix of cars out here this evening, Steve. Certainly different from the single mark of the last season with the Skippies. Some Porsches, some BMWs, a couple of Corvettes. I think there's at least one Ford out there. So a nice mix of things here. Have you had a chance to drive any of these yet, Steve, yourself?
So I took part in practice last week. I drove the new Corvette. I just thought it would be nice to do something different. And, with the setup I was using, it was so fast down the straightaway, but it was very hairy on the infield. But it's just, preference, I think, when it comes to car. I mean, they're all going to be pretty close in the right trim. So, if you stick with one car all season, you'll probably have a little bit of advantage just knowing that car, knowing what it's going to do in the corners.
Yeah, I was out in practice myself. I took the BMW out and was running, I guess, a rather low downforce setup. I think actually it might have had Darren Treacle's name on it, so that could have been a very low downforce setup. And it took me most of that practice session to figure out turn one until I switched to a medium to high downforce setup, at which point it at least stuck well enough that I could crawl my way through turn one. But
I don't think it matters which car you're in. Turn one's always going to be tough. And even when you get turn one, just hitting it right every time. I feel like there's so much time between getting it right and being off just a little bit. So it's just like it's a frustrating corner where it's very, very little reward because you just never feel like you got it all.
For sure. And it happens so quickly. You have all that time to sit there and think about it when you're up here on the banking. After you get through the bus stop, you just sit there and think about turn one. And, I tried to find some reference points, some turn-ins and some braking spots. And, it was just a whole lot to handle. So I think that just goes to show that you need to spend a lot of time here practicing, figure out where you got to set the car to make sure it does what you want it to do. Had a bit of live video before we cut into the broadcast here of actually a Corvette C7R, I guess, running at Daytona. Pretty fantastic stuff here. And just kind of goes to show you the realism that we have here within iRacing and being able to go run Daytona in these cars.
Yeah, I think we're going to be in for a treat. I think we were just talking about how tough turn one is. Well, we're going to have 15 or so cars heading into turn one on cold tires for lap one. So, hopefully everybody's on their best behavior there. We have a long race in front of us, so everybody's going to have some time to settle in and get things figured out.
A lot of chatter in the pre-race drivers meeting over email talking about let's take it easy into turn one here. So I think everybody's going to, exercise a bit of discretion there so we can have a clean race. After all, it is 75 minutes. No need to hurry to get there.
Yeah, you can definitely ruin your night with a small mistake or someone else's small mistake by, maybe not giving enough room in front in those early few laps. So keeping your car clean and just, we're talking about low downforce setup. Well, nothing will ruin a low downforce setup more than having a little bit of damage. So you're going to have a low downforce setup. It's going to be, not so great on the infield. You're going to carry a little damage. Now you're not even going to get the benefit of going fast on the straightaway. So that's about the worst thing you can do at a track like this.
Well, so far it seems everybody's figuring this place out. Tentative through one, and we've seen even some of the quicker drivers get a bit all elbows coming through one, but it seems like everybody's going to get it figured out here. Still got about 20 minutes left here in this qualifying session. And looking at the timing and scoring, Stefan Vapp is out on top. Darren Treacle not too far behind. And then Ian Ditson, who's home from school and able to rejoin us here for Season 5, just behind Darren in P3. So it looks like generally the field's going to be pretty close here. And over 75 minutes, we might see a surprise race winner here if they can manage their race accordingly.
So it's not as draftable as the Skippy, but this track is so large, there is quite a bit of draft. And I drove a bunch on the track with Darren last week, and we were able to kind of get a tow and stay close and stay bunched up for the half hour I think we were on the track. I think our three front runners there are pretty close in pace, and they're probably going to look at strategy to maybe try to break that, because with 2 pit stops, the first one will probably be right at about the 30-minute mark, but they're going to have an option on how much fuel they put in on that first time. You know, they can either fill it up again and go another 30 minutes, or they can short pit and go maybe 15 minutes and save the long one for the end. And if they get a little bit of clean air, their thought could be to, you know, put a little distance on those other cars.
Hopefully everybody was sitting at home practicing before the race this evening on how to handle the pit stops. I know I still forget to turn off the tires when I don't need them and those kinds of things. So, you know, throwing a bit of a wrench into the works here and trying to, you know, create a little excitement here. So.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see a benefit depending on your driving style on those tires, but the tires will be pretty ragged after 75 minutes. Sounds wild.
It does. I see they put a windshield wiper there on that BMW that Darren's out there, and I know right now iRacing doesn't have rain, but maybe that's an indication of what's to come.
Pretty exciting. iRacing hasn't been giving us too much info ahead of these updates we get at the end of every season, and we have another one coming up, so we never know what it's going to be. I've heard some rumors that maybe we're going to get Long Beach finally, and a couple dirt tracks if you're into that sort of thing. But yeah, they kind of surprised us. So like the Corvette was a huge surprise. Nobody expected to get that.
And I did see a screenshot, I think, on Facebook today from the official iRacing account of a nice render of Long Beach. So maybe that's actually in the works here.
Yeah, that could be fun. I like street courses. I don't know if I'll like driving them in sim. I like watching them on TV.
Yeah, for sure. It seems quite challenging. So we shall see here. It looks like we have about 14 cars here that are going to be running out there for qualifying, assuming everybody gets out there. A couple of cars still sitting in the pits getting ready to go out and turn their first couple of laps.
Yeah, it might be smart to take a little bit of break now if you've been on track for almost 40 minutes and get a little break before you hunker down for 75 minutes straight of racing.
So you put together another training video, I gather, Steve. Is that correct?
I did. I'm not super experienced with the GTE cars. I've done a little bit of them, and it's been a few seasons, but hopefully I gave some good advice to these guys to help them get around this track. I mean, I think I was one of the faster guys in our practice, so, you know, hope I didn't give any bad advice. Hope I didn't try to tell him anything that's too hard to do. This corner we're looking at here, Jim Wood, that's the one I struggled with. I feel like there's some bumps there, and I don't know how to avoid them, so I didn't really give them much. But the trick is to get on the gas early there. But yeah, I'm not super confident with these cars, but I get around.
Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to view it because I knew I was going to be up in the booth, and I didn't want to be too disappointed sitting up here not being able to race. But I definitely owe myself some time in the sim. I'll watch that video and kind of get myself sorted here because it was fun once I finally got the hang of it. But coming from the skippies, it was once again a bit of a change up. So to any of these drivers that are running around running multiple marks in different racing series, I got to hand it to them because it's even in the sim, it's such a big difference from the skippy, which was power all of the time.
Yeah.
Into these things, which really require some gentle care, particularly when you're putting the power down.
I think this circuit is tougher than others. I mean, you often jump into a car, maybe use the baseline setup first, and then when you want to go fast at a track like this, you're gonna go to a setup that's low downforce. So you're gonna have to actually dial back how hard you're driving, through the corners. And I feel like it's a bit of a mind game. It's hard to slow down enough to go fast. But once you get the hang of it, there's a lot of speed and just, nice and easy in and really fast out.
Now, John Wood here does have a fair amount of experience here in this M8 GTE. He runs with the BMW National Capital Chapter, who on Thursday nights, at least previously, had been running the M8 GTE. So I think John's rather comfortable with the car. We'll see how he does here in the race this evening. at the 41-minute mark here, and we got 45 minutes in this qualifying session. Looks like the majority of the cars entered have gone out and turned laps. We've got 2 that are still sitting in the pits thinking about it. We'll see if perhaps they can get out there and turn a couple of laps before we get into the race, or they're just going to start from the back of the pack.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed with the lap times. So many drivers, faster, 145 and faster. It's just such a big adjustment from the Skippy, and a track like this is so fast, and it's just very different from what we've been doing. I think the guys are, getting a handle on it. Not super fast, but it's not an easy thing to do, so they're getting there.
Currently sitting on top of qualifying, Stefan Vappa, 141.784. Haven't had a chance to really pay attention to lap time to see if he's been improving upon that, but it looks like his last time was pretty close to it, so he's consistent, which is what we expect of Stefan here.
Yeah, he's always up front, and I think last time we were in the GT3s, which, as I said, are similar but different. He was always top 3. It seemed like Stefan, Darren, and Ian always had a little bit on everybody. Yeah,
Darren,
I don't have it. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Darren's out there in the Marlboro livery this evening. Nice thing about iRacing, we still have tobacco sponsorship, unlike the real world where we don't have that really anymore. Sorry, Steve, you were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't have a ton of experience in these cars, especially recently, but it's been my experience that the BMW is a bit of a tank. It can handle bumps, it can handle curbs, things like that. It's very well-rounded. The Ferrari was always a little bit faster on the straightaways, maybe not so good on curbs. Probably the least curb-friendly of all the cars. The Corvette, that's a new car. Typically, the new car's a little bit generous with its BOP. Although, based on some of the times I've been seeing, it seems like they've got it pretty competitive with all the other cars. Let's see what else we got there. The Porsche. I think we have one Porsche out there. That's a car that usually handles tight corners better. We don't really have a lot of them today. Hopefully it's not lacking too much down on the straightaway, which, it won't be terribly far down, I don't assume, and a lot of that'll be down to setup and what you're comfortable to doing. So, at the end of the day, iRacing does a pretty good job of getting all the cars very close. In terms of lap time, it's really about driving style. So, if you want a kind of all-arounder, you might be better at the BMW, or if you're just kind of a fanboy of something, of one of the brands, jump with that. But for our purposes, I think sticking with one car for all 4 or 5 races, what we're doing here, is going to be in your best interests.
I went with the BMW because it's the car that I own, which wasn't, once I got the setup squared away, it wasn't bad. I do find that the Ferrari kind of out of the box, at least in my experience, feels like it's a bit more neutral, and therefore a bit easier to, kind of wrap your head around as you're figuring out a new track and trying to kind of get your feet.
The nice thing about the Ferrari is that from a cockpit standpoint, it's exactly the same as the GT3 car, and it drives very similarly, at least as similar as it can be. So if you do a bit of GT racing and you maybe bounce between GT3 and GTE, if you drive the Ferrari, you'll be very familiar with both of those cars. They're not terribly different.
So the checkered flag is out on this qualifying session here. 45 minutes have transpired, and the times you see there, unless somebody's out there on the ringer, we're going to set the grid for our 75-minute endurance race here. Season opener, Season 5 with the VRG Virtual Racer League here at Daytona International Speedway. The Roar 1.2. We're going to do 75 minutes of racing here this evening. It's a bit of a change from our last several seasons here. So this should be interesting. We're going to have pit stops. No driver changes, but we will have pit stops. We'll see how that all shakes out here. Once we get our official grid from timing and scoring, we'll bring that up, run it through the grid, and we'll kick things off here for 75 minutes of racing. Thank you for watching out there on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button, share with your friends, and get settled in for an exciting 75 minutes of racing here. while we have a couple of minutes here, Steve, how's the weather out in your neck of the woods? Do you have any snow?
No, we have not. And my kids are a little disappointed in that. It finally kind of got a chill today. It was like 60-something degrees a few days ago, but it's I think winter's here now. Winter's here to stay anyway. We're gonna be in the 40s for a while.
Yeah, we got a couple of inches out there. It's mostly wet stuff right now, but the puppy that we got just at the beginning here of the COVID era is now learning what snow is all about, and he is absolutely amazed by it. Pulling up our starting grid here for the first race of Season 5 here with the VRG VRL at Daytona International Speedway, the Roar 1.2. Starting off in pole position, Stefan Vappa with a 141.518. Outside of pole, Darren Treacle. Third place, Ian Ditson visiting us from college. Welcome back, Ian. Good to see you. Good to have you. Jim Caramanis in fourth. John Wood rounding out that top 5. Got Dave Fitzgerald in 6th place. Todd Angel in 7th. Dave Curtis in 8th. Bob Lang 9th. Ralph Padgington in 10th place. Jay Creel in 11th. Kurt Uzbay in 12th. Have any other runners behind there? Christian Burge in the 13th. Andrew Granis in 14th. Saw Christian out there earlier. I did not see Andrew turn any laps, but we'll see if he joins us here for the race. Perhaps he was just going to exercise a bit of discretion and work his way up to taking the race lead all the way from the back.
You know, I don't think Ian had to go all the way to college to skip this 2 Skippy seasons. It's not that bad.
Yeah, you know? But he's back now. We'll see what, you know, I'm sure he's been practicing, you know, school, iRacing, the priorities there, so.
He's probably almost done with the semester, I imagine.
Yeah, so it'd be nice he can stick around here and do this rather short Season 5 with us here. We got 4 races. We're here at Daytona tonight. Next Tuesday we'll be at Road Atlanta. Following Tuesday is Watkins Glen, and then we're going to finish it off at everybody's favorite, Sebring. We're not doing 12 hours at Sebring. We'll do 1.2 hours. Up here in the Treacle Insurance Blimp, we'll watch our grid roll off here. We'll pick it up with our race leader. Our pole position, Stefan Vappa. So short pace lap here, and then we're going to go racing. We're going to go green here very shortly. We'll see how everybody does into turn 1. To Steve's point, got to be ginger here these first couple of laps, cold tires. 75 minutes of racing coming out here from Daytona International Speedway, VRG VRL. Stefan Vappa, our pole sitter, and Darren Treacle on the outside. Pace car is in. We'll look for those green lights to come on, and we'll see who's going to head down into turn 1.
Green, green, green.
Green flag is out. Stefan Vappa drops the hammer. Looks like Bob Lang drops a little low there. Darren Treacle tucks in behind.
Making moves on the apron already.
Stefan clean into 1. Darren Treacle in 2nd place. Looks like Ian Ditson's in 3rd. Jim Kiernan just behind. John Wood, Bob Lang, Todd Angel, Jay Creel. Clean through 2.
Yeah, it looks like we're doing good so far.
No incidents according to race control on my display, so excellent work there getting clean through 1, everybody.
Something I noticed when I was in the Corvette was that it has temperature monitors for the tires, and it also has pressure monitors for each tire, so you could actually watch it and see when the tires are up to pressure and temperature, so you could actually be more aggressive and not rely on just feel.
On board with Stefan now as he approaches the bus stop for the first time. Darren Treacle just behind him. We'll zoom out here in just a little bit and get all the racing action for you.
Everybody's done a good job on this first lap so far.
Stefan and Darren able to gap the field just a little bit. We'll bounce back and see what's going on back here. Ian Ditson currently in third place. Dave Fitzgerald, Todd Angel, John Wood, Jim Karamanis, Bob Lang, the sole Porsche out in the field this evening, Bob.
Yeah, I think Jim's lost a few spots. I want to say he started 4th. Probably just being going a little gentle on this first out lap.
On board currently with Jim Karamanis as he follows John Wood up onto the banking here at Daytona International Speedway. 75 minutes here for the Roar 1.2, the VRG VRL.
Oh, he's got a big run. Position.
Yeah, Jim fighting his way back up to that 4th place. He fell behind there just a little bit. Let's jump back up to the front of the pack again, see what Stefan and Darren are up to. Stefan with a bit of a lead on Darren. They come down into 1.
I mean, already running mid 142s. That's a pretty good lap for cold tires. Although these cars definitely heat up the tires significantly faster than the Skippy cars that we were watching for the last few seasons.
On board with Darren, so we'll jump up to the Treacle Insurance blimp, get a bit of an overhead view here as they work their way up onto the banking here at Daytona International. Excellent headlights on these cars here.
Yeah, this is a good welded track. Some circuits aren't so great to do a broadcast at night, but Daytona is excellent with all the lights they have here. I see Davis Fitzgerald's up 3 spots. It's in 3rd now.
Pick up with Jay Creel here, and we'll work our way up through the track position, see how everybody's doing. Looks like Jay's got the legs here on Bob. At least he's letting him know he's there.
Yeah, when you're picking a setup and you're going for whether high downforce, low downforce, the low downforce is harder to drive, but the nice thing about it, it makes passing so much easier. And I think it can be, ooh, he got stopped just in time.
Just in time, big lock up there going into 1.
Well, I was saying the lower downforce just makes it much easier to pass, but you just got to be able to hang on to it in the infield. It can be frustrating though for a driver who's maybe using a higher downforce setup, can maybe get to the back of that car in front of them with the low downforce, and then when they get to the banking, it just kind of checks out.
Yeah, that was definitely my experience when I was running the higher downforce setup. But to be honest with you, I needed it. I really wasn't able to complete a decent lap without it. Just really got to work on that turn 1 entry myself. But it seems everybody here has got it down at least well enough to get in some good racing here. Currently on board with Jim Karamanis running in 5th place. Down a position from where he started. We'll jump up here to Dave Fitzgerald, see how he's doing. 1 one of our Corvettes out.
Side by side into the bus stop. Woo. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Hang on
to it, Dave. Good job. Wow, that could have been so much worse.
I believe that was young Ian Ditson there.
Yeah.
Hitting brave. See if we can pull up that replay here and see how Ian managed to pull off that pass on Dave just behind as they're coming into the bus stop here.
Man, that BMW MA is a big car.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think he just got alongside Dave and it threw him off his marks, you know, going side by side into a corner. He can't drive to his normal apex, and it just caught him off.
Nice recovery there by Dave, though. Well, recovery, he held on to it, so.
Yeah.
Ian Ditson now currently running in third place. Stefan Vappa and Darren Treacle up ahead.
I'm noticing that that mistake by Dave he's allowed Jim Karamanis to catch up, and he's in drafting range right now. And that's Ian just in front of them. You can see him out of the windshield. He just disappeared in the banking, but they're still all close on track.
A lot of race ahead of them, so I expect they can probably reel them in at some point. We're about 9 minutes into 75 minutes of racing here at Daytona International Speedway. Just in the early stages here as everybody gets comfortable with the cars. Of course, we do have pit stops to throw into the mix here, which may change up the running order and shuffle things up.
Expect the first pit stop everybody will probably be doing in about 28, 29 minutes. The car's full of gas to start the race. You wouldn't want to start light because you're going to end up just in the pits longer, filling up more. So everybody should pit at, like I said, the 28, 29 mark, but from there, that's where the strategy opens up. You know, whether or not you take a full tank that time or a half a tank and maybe try to build a gap or just strategically fill that car.
Jim with a big lock up
there.
Yeah. Jump down to the other ELB racing car, Ralph Padgington, currently running behind Todd Angel and pretty close.
These are well-engineered race cars, and typically the performance you lose from the tires, you gain from the fuel burning off. But something else I've also noticed is that usually the brake balance stays fairly consistent. I haven't driven all the cars, but you know, other series I've had to manage brake bias as the fuel burns off, and you have to like move it forward, move it back, depending on where the fuel tank is. I've driven the Ferrari a bit in the iRacing official endurance league, and that car you had to manage it, but not a huge amount. But it is possible that some of these guys may be getting into trouble as the fuel's burning off. Maybe the brake bias is way too far forward, and you know, could use a few clicks backwards.
Speaking of which, the Corvette here, very obviously labeling the brake bias, so it must be important to give up that much real estate.
Oh yeah.
That said, if nobody's programmed a button for that, might be a little difficult. Gonna have to wait for the pit stops to readjust that.
So if you look at the dashboard there, it's showing all zeros to not give away any driver secrets or, you know, telemetry, things that they're using to their advantage. But those green lines, the green positions are the tire pressure, and the orange below it is would be the temperature. So he, in his car, he can see it. They're hiding it from us so that competitors cannot use it to their advantage by watching a stream or, you know, watching a replay later. The lights on. Let's see if he lights them up. I don't know if he will. The 5 lights down the side of each side of the screen there. Those are locking, brake locking, and actually ABS. They're tire spin indicators to light up different colors depending on what you're doing there.
I think I learned something every stream with you, Steve. I did not know that.
Yeah, most of the cars have it, the GT cars, and some are a little bit easier to understand than what they're doing. When I first joined iRacing 4 years ago, the Porsche 911 Cup car was big, so I got very familiar with how the Porsche indicators work. They only have one, but depending on the color would tell you whether it was the front or the rear. You can't always feel it. Sometimes it's not obvious which tire is locking up.
Two BMWs going at it right now. Jake Creel running down John Wood.
He's all over the back. Great camera shot.
Give the viewers at home an idea of just how steeply banked these turns are here at Daytona International.
Yeah, if Jake can get in and out of his bus stop efficiently, he can definitely make a run down the front stretch towards turn 1. Oh! This is going to be not good.
Oh, that was a bit of a bump. Unfortunate there, Jay. Sorry about that, but still got about 60 minutes to make it up.
Yeah, if there's about, once you get to the 15-minute mark, if you get into trouble, you can pit and you can take a full tank and not lose a whole lot of time, because you could do, a 15-minute segment and 2 30-minute segments. You won't be adding an extra pit stop.
Getting ideas of the speed comparisons here with Dave Fitzgerald running behind Jim Caramanis, Corvette behind Ferrari. Check them out after they get on the other side of the bus stop here and see what kind of a disparity in speed, though. It looks like Dave's really going to, to the inside of Jim on the exit of the bus stop. Bit of a drag race.
Yeah, even if Dave can't clear him, I think Jim's going to have to give way being on the outside of turn 1.
Side by side. And hard on the brakes down into 1. Dave's taken into 1. Nice and clean there. Jim taking a look to the inside, but backs out of it.
great drive up that corner.
Notice the tail there through the bus stop. Jim takes the position back as they exit back up onto the banking for a long run down to one. Pick up Jay Creel here, who's just behind Bob Lang.
It's amazing how fast these cars look after 2 seasons of skip.
Yeah, things certainly happen a whole lot quicker. Bob Lang making that Porsche stick through one. Jay Creel just behind in the BMW. They work towards the infield section here. Just behind there in the shadows is Ralph Padgington.
This corner, the circuit has so many unique corners. I mean, even that corner they just went through. I mean, it's a 180 U-turn essentially, but it's got like a bit extra runoff on the exit, and you know, it's got a curb on the inside, but it's not a huge curb, so it's just a lot of quirks. I feel like to the circuit that you know, you just need time to master them all. Turn 6 is quite bumpy right there. You can see the car bouncing up and down on the front, and it just makes it hard to get back on the gas.
Giving the in-car the Porsche a bit of love here, I think, is typical of German cars. A bit sparse on the interior there. Certainly function over form.
Yeah, this car has the warning lights up on the dashboard. You can see them on both sides. And I'll tell you about lockups and traction control events. I do believe, though, us being a watcher, not the actual driver, that they're disabled for us. Typically, those lights are pretty active. Yeah, I can be smoking the tires a little bit there in the front.
Oh, and Jay had a spin
boy.
behind him. Watch him come down into one.
Oh, just lost the rear end.
It looks very similar to what I was doing in the BMW when I was out there. That rear end really likes to step out there.
Yeah, you can't give it full brake going into that corner because you're never not turning. So it's always a bit of a balance between how much you're turning into the corner and how much you're trying to slow down.
Jump back up to our race leaders here, currently with second place Darren Treacle. 2.5 seconds behind race leader Stefan Vappa.
Yeah, he's definitely fallen a bit out of the draft, but both of these drivers are very well matched.
If you're Darren and you're coming up on your pit stop, would you keep your eyes on Stefan very closely and go in at the same time he does?
It's hard to say. I really think this first one you want to take to the very end, because let's say you pit 3 laps short. The 3 laps afterwards, you're going to be full of fuel. So those 3 laps will be significantly slower than the ones that aren't full of fuel. If he, by staying out, he may be able to do like a, as I say in Formula One, like an overcut. You know, typically the undercut is when you pit early, but that won't work here, I don't believe. You know, they're going to take, I think it's probably, you know, depending on car, 15 to 18 gallons, which is quite a bit of weight. Yeah, if he was a little bit closer and was actually drafting, you know, actively drafting Stefan, then he might think about it, because, you know, it's possible that those two cars, maybe the tanks aren't quite matched, or the driving style's a little different, where, you know, Darren could maybe get a few more laps that Stefan can't. But, you know, not being in the draft, I don't think there'd be any advantage to him pitting early if Stefan does. Oh, looks like Kurt Uzbek going around there in our lone Ford.
A bit of excitement there ahead of Darren.
It hasn't cost him any time yet. Let's see what happens in turn 6. Actually might help him here if he gets a little bit of a draft. Yeah, he's got the interval under 3 seconds just there. It looks like Stefan's running a little bit lower downforce than Darren is, based just on watching the interval move up and down. You know, once he gets to the end of these long straightaways, it seems to increase. And despite the traffic and excitement, Darren took about a 10th off of Stefan's lead there.
Jump back to Jim Caramanis and Dave Fitzgerald once again side by side up in the embankment here at Daytona International. Hard down into one. Jim's got the inside line. Looks like he's going to make that stick. We'll see if Dave can stick with him and challenge him into 2.
Yeah, pace-wise, these guys have the ability to battle all night.
They've been flipping it back and forth almost every lap. So this should prove to be an exciting one once the pit stops come into play. A little bit later in the race, we're about 25 minutes into 75 minutes of racing here with the VRG VRL Daytona International Speedway for the Roar 1.2.
We have a bit of luck up there for Jim. Bob Lang's in the pits. First pit stop of the night. Scheduled pit stop. Got to contend with a lap car soon.
Just in time for turn 1, it looks like, unless they can skirt around him. Nope, doesn't look like it.
Side by side. Looks like the Ford of Kurt Uzbek. Sure is a low car. Oh, he has a bit of a lockup. This is not with Dave and he's right now.
Probably a few choice words going out over the radio net right now to the fans out there. All the drivers can talk to each other. Generally used for point bypassing, even though we can't stick our hands out in the virtual world and tell them where to go. I expect Dave's probably telling Kurt exactly where he can go in a very gentlemanly fashion.
Yeah, he lost a little bit of time, but he's still right about a second back. It's going to be tough to get much of a draft from there. I think he just needs to be, head down, very few mistakes, and he'll be back there in no time. Oh, Ian Ditson's pulled into pit lane. There's a long pit lane.
Very long pit lane.
Jim Caramana. So Dave and Jim are going to take a break fighting for a few minutes here.
We'll sit here and we'll watch Ian take his pit stop.
Yeah, I don't see the car up on Jack, so he's just taking fuel.
Probably not the hustle and bustle everybody's used to from a NASCAR pit stop or real world IMSA endurance racing.
Yeah, sadly, the GTEe car is not one that iRacing has modeled the tire changers and the fuel guys yet. Hopefully that'll be coming soon. They add a few every update.
Jim Caramana stucks into the pits. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I was gonna say, these guys need to just be a little bit careful. They're on the same older tires, and now that the car's heavier with fuel, it is not going to go as fast as it just was. Our leaders are in pit lane. Oh, there's actually a lot of activity in pit lane. BMW might have been, I don't know who that was. Looked like it was up in the air, probably getting tires.
What else do we have in the pit right now? Ralph Padgington's in the pits. Christian Bergen's in the pits. Probably Chris
Yeah, it must have
Bergen.
been Christian in the BMW.
Sitting inside the car right now with Darren as he's watching Stefan take his pit stop. We can watch them roll off here.
I think we've all crashed into this wall exiting the pit, so we got to be careful.
Yeah, and special note, those left yellow rumble strips are a nightmare on the car if you happen to tag one. You will catch air. Darren's going to try and hustle here and catch up to Stefan as they both exit the pits at roughly the same time.
Yeah, I'm seeing Dave Fitzgerald just exiting the pits. Looks like pretty much everybody's probably pit just by now. Whether or not they filled it up and they're going to go to probably the hour mark, or if they're going to go a little bit short and try to gain some time on a lighter load. I mean, you could even split it, and do, if there's 45 minutes left, do about 22 minutes each time.
Take a look-see at our pit stop strategy. We can see positions gained as a result of pitting. Dave Fitzgerald picking up 2 spots there, or at least up 2 spots from where he was. I'm gonna have to spend some time understanding this graphic exactly, so I know what I'm telling you about.
Yeah, I see Jim lost a few spots. I'm wondering if he took tires. which seems like a poor strategy now, just in terms of time lost. But those last 15 minutes on really old tires, him having the fresh tires could pay off huge.
We'll have to survey the group after the race and see if anybody did any, practice race distance stints to kind of get familiar here.
Treacle's just chipping away a little bit. He's under 3 seconds again, but Stefan's car is a bit faster on these straightaways here. You see the gap getting a little bit bigger.
Now, Steve, you can adjust the fuel payload to take them to pit stop, can you not?
Yeah. I think you should have it planned out ahead of time, but yeah, you can adjust it on the fly, or you can use a software like Crew Chief. You can talk to your crew chief and tell him what you want to do. But yeah, it's definitely something you can do. And there's also controls to adjust the fuel usage. So if you want to maybe try to run a little bit leaner and sacrifice some performance, you can do that as well.
I know in the practice session there were a few in the field who had, guessed just right on the fuel load. A few people actually requiring a push across the start-finish line. So we'll see how that plays out this evening.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something you want to practice. So some cars in iRacing, when you run out of gas, you can putter around the track for a while. But I think these endurance machines, like I said, they're so well engineered. The tanks and everything are designed to get every drop out. So when it runs out, it pretty much runs out. You don't have any warning, short of maybe like a red light that comes on a dash when it's getting low. But if it starts to sputter, you're not going to go very far after that.
Stefan Vappa lapping Bob Lang there in the sole Porsche out there this evening.
Yeah, I think he's led every single lap, but Darren's been hanging on right about a 3-second mark. I think just before the pit, he kind of was getting down closer to 2 seconds, but it's just not quite close enough to get in front. See if this car is going to impede Darren when they get through the bus stop. It's often a place where some of the lap traffic doesn't quite go as fast as the faster guys do. Darren's going to need a huge run to not lose any time to Stefan. Yeah, that's going to hurt him.
Darren backing out of it.
Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. I
Perhaps it's black.
can't imagine. Oh, maybe he got slowed down through the bus stop. He took quite a bit of curb on the inside when he got stuck behind that car there. I think that was Bob Lang, but he may have tried to leg it out there in the straightaway and hope that the slowdown went away on its own, which it didn't.
Yep, curious to see about that. Going to have to ask Darren about that in the post race if he joins us. He's doubled his gap there to Stefan Vappa, so Stefan's now running out in the clear. Not a whole lot ahead of him for a little bit here. A lot of time left, though. We just crossed the halfway point in the 75-minute race here at the Virtual Racer League. Aurora 1.2 at Daytona International Speedway. Pick up Todd Angel here, who's running just behind Jim Karamanis.
Yeah, I think Karamanis had recently gotten around to Todd. Karamanis, I believe, took new tires based on the amount of time he was in the pits. He's about, what's that look like, 40 seconds behind Dave Fitzgerald, who he was racing with before the pit stop.
Carlos Bonds out there, our third Corvette, late joined to the race there, so starting from the back of the pack, 8 laps down. But with, you know, all kinds of endurance racing, it's oftentimes better to stay in it and keep racing because you don't know what's going to happen over a long period of time.
Looks like maybe he's got like a Blue Angels livery there. It's pretty neat.
I guess this is roughly equivalent to the 24 hours middle of the night kind of sessions where things are a bit laid back and first pit stops happen and everybody kind of settles in and just keeps driving.
Yeah, I was going to say the pit stops seemed to go fairly smoothly for everyone. I didn't see anybody having any issues or, you know, actually possibly Jim Karamanis got a slowdown maybe entering pit lane. Maybe that was why he was there. You know, now that I'm thinking of people maybe having an issue, you know, if he entered pit lane a little bit too fast, it could have been a stop and go or a hold of sorts.
Yeah, and that's one thing you don't typically practice in the.
That was bad.
In there. That was a took his eye off the prize there. It looks like in those sprint races we run, you don't ever get to practice looks like Darren has gone back into the pit. Ian Ditson has moved up to second spot. I'm sure why Darren would have gone in.
Yeah, and if he pits now, he's going to have to make another pit stop later because he's not going to be able to make it to the end. He'll probably be about 5 minutes short.
But if you never practice entering the pits and you come to a track like this and you need to pit, you don't really know how to get in there. And then when you find it, you're generally a little too hot and pretty easy to be over speed or actually just lose it trying to get woed down quick enough.
Yeah, you're up on that bank and you're going so fast. You know, other circuits typically you're the pit lane's kind of hidden in a corner. You know, before a corner, after a corner, where you're not going super fast. Where here you're going almost at your max speed, you know, just as you're pulling in, and you got to get slowed down to probably about 55 miles an hour. Let's see, pit speed is 50. Yes, it is 55. So that feels like, you know, walking pace after you've been making laps in these cars. if Jim Caramanis had an issue. I thought he was around Todd Angel. Now he's about 10 seconds back.
Looks like Jim might have had an off there. We'll jump back to the instant replay, see what happened.
Oh, oh. That's a easy mistake to make, and you often see that on broadcasts on, real Daytona 24 racing. The place you see cars end up. Tell you, the car don't look bad though.
I got lucky there. Would have expected a little bit of damage to come away from that.
Yeah.
Jump on board with Carlos Bonds real quick. Not racing for position here necessarily, but at least caught up with who's just ahead of him. Todd Angel, I believe that is.
Yeah, these are our 2 Corvettes. I think we have one more in Dave Fitzgerald. He's running the Gulf livery today.
True to real world, as you can see there to the right of Carlos's heads-up display there, one of the rearward camera sort of rear view mirror type things, which I had turned on when I was practicing, and some of the drivers, or a lot of the drivers, may run the virtual rear view mirror, which inside the car up there at the top of the display, relatively spatially similar to what you would expect from a rear view mirror. The rear-facing camera, however, seems to have a bit of a zoom on it, because a couple of times I peek there and see like somebody was right up on my backside. In reality, they were actually a fair distance behind. Which was
I don't know if it's a cheat, but I definitely don't turn those on. I don't want the distraction.
Yeah, it was definitely a distraction for me, because I thought I was going to run somebody off the road, and I overcorrected for it, and they wound up, it was like maybe a second behind me before they eventually wound up passing me. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, object in mirrors are not as close as they appear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would find that very distracting, especially a circuit like this with the headlights. When we're in the dark, you can see those headlights. It feels like from a mile back.
Race leader Stefan Vappa here is going to catch a bit of traffic, probably just as he enters turn 1 here. So we'll see if he can make it through cleanly. Ian Ditson's 21 seconds behind in second place, so I'm sure he's hoping for some kind of a racing mishap here for Stefan to slow him down a little bit and make up that distance.
Yeah, so we're well past the halfway point, and the racing has spread out, which I think we expected. But so far, I mean, the guys have done a great job. His first few laps, super clean. The guys did a great job. We had some good battles. Hopefully, after this next pit stop, some cars will come back together a bit for us. Stefan using his headlights to warn the other drivers coming through. Oh my God!
Whoa!
Wow, that was close. You know, if he had just got a few inches to the left and got that tire in the grass, he was going to go straight in the wall, and there would have been no stopping that car.
Yeah, that was a bit of a touch and go moment there.
Not that Stefan did anything wrong, but he's got to keep in mind he's got a 22-second advantage at this point. You know, he can definitely afford to wait a corner or two if he needs to. See, Darren Treacle's lapping in 8th place now, so I'm not really sure. He went in the pits, lost us a bunch of time, and he's back out. And the car looked okay. I don't know what he did there.
Well, it looks like his last lap was purple at a 1:42.102. So whatever he did, he's going quicker. Picking up with Darren and Bob Lang as they head to the infield section here.
Yeah, I don't suspect Darren will be held up too long. Yeah, you know, I wonder if Darren, it seemed like he slowed down a bunch at the end of that straightaway into turn one, maybe trying to kill a penalty, and it's possible he waited too long to kill that penalty and ended up with some sort of stop and go.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I can't really see any other reason why he just randomly stop again. And while this is all, you know, very real to real world, there's not necessarily a mechanical that's going to crop up.
Correct.
Though that would certainly make it interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say it gives us a little bit something to watch here as he works his way back through the field. Definitely has top 2 pace, so. Yeah, 18 seconds back of Jim Karamanis. It's gonna take him a while to get there, but whoa! Small mistake that got big, almost ended it in the tires there.
Steffen's going to pick up some traffic here in the next couple of turns.
Yeah, there's a whole group of, looks like 4 cars. You know, if those guys are racing for position, you may have to be a little bit patient getting through them.
Over 50 minutes transpired here out of 75 minutes at the Roar 1.2 at Daytona International Speedway. This is Ian Lisbon and Steve Focacci in the booth for the Vintage Racer Group Virtual Racer League. Thanks for joining us out there in YouTube and Facebook land. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, share with your friends. We do this every Tuesday night. Next week we're going to be at Road Atlanta for the Pete Petite 1.2. Race leader Stefan Vappa here navigating the bus stop. Getting back up onto the banking. Looks like he's going to catch this cluster of cars as they get into one.
Yeah, next week Road Atlanta will be a significantly different race than this track. Close quarters. It's a shorter track, so you'll be running up on lap traffic. So significantly quicker. You'll have more opportunities for error, I guess you'd say. You know, just as you have to navigate all this traffic, you know, probably 3 times as often as you do at this circuit. Jim Karamanis is in pit lane. And Ian Ditson. If all's planned, it'll be their last stop of the day.
Looks like just ahead we've got Dave Curtis, Kurt Ousbay, Ralph Padgington, and then a little bit ahead of them, John Wood. Stefan's got 4 cars. He's going to have to make his way around here.
I noticed while Ian did some pits, Dave Fitzgerald moved up to 2nd place. Surely does not feel that bank until you see that camera angle.
Yeah. Kurt Ousbay ducked into the pits there, so one less car for Stefan to deal with. Dave Curtis just ahead.
Yeah, so we got about 20 minutes left. The tank is about a 30-minute tank, so you're not going to want to fill it up all the way. You'll be throwing away performance by just putting extra weight in the car and by staying longer in pit lane. So that'll cost you several seconds by the end of the race if you did fill it up now. I would argue probably 10-15 seconds on track. Ralph Padgington and John Wood. Stefan's coming up on. Stefan's pulling in for his final pit stop. That is a well-practiced pit stop. Got it slowed down just before he got to the cone there. My experience is about a second per gallon of fuel in these cars. That was a quick stop, so just getting enough to go to the end.
Darren Treacle managed to unlap himself while Stefan was in the pits. We'll see if he's able to make time on this or if Stefan's going to reel him right back in.
Based on when Darren took his last pit stop, he is going to need another fuel stop. Yeah, I think you're going to want to shift the car a little bit sooner, not leave the red shift lights on too long. You know, these are restricted motors. Revving them past their efficiency isn't going to do you any favors. Sounds good.
It does sound good. Currently riding in second place, Dave Fitzgerald. That's Jim Karamanis just ahead. Karamanis back in seventh place.
I'll say them two had a great battle early on, just before the first pit stop. I guess if things worked out differently, we'd still be looking at a battle for position. Steffen's been in control. You know, the whole race. Had that one scare with the lap traffic, but he's been definitely driving on the limit, but very uneventful, I'd say otherwise.
Just riding along here with Stefan Vappa, currently your race leader. So far has led every lap. Second place, Dave Fitzgerald. Third place is Ian Ditson.
Uh-oh, a little excitement here. Oops. Definitely wisely slowed down.
Running a bit wide there, but he's got time to spare. That's Stefan Vappa, Dave Fitzgerald, Ian Ditson, John Wood, and Darren Treacle to round out your top 5 there. Pulling up our pit stops for a minute. Stefan's had 2. Dave Fitzgerald only 1 stop thus far, so he's going to have to make another one. Ian Ditson with 2 stops, John Wood with 1, Darren Treacle with 2. The remainder of the field's put in 2 stops.
Yeah, I also think Darren Treacle is going to have to take one more. I feel like his last pit stop was before about a half hour to go, so I don't think he'll be able to stretch it.
Dave Curtis might have had an accident here in the bus stop. We can see his headlights facing us as the race leader works his way through, waiting for traffic to clear out.
That's appreciated.
Carlos Bonds moving up high to let the race leader through.
Dave had a similar wreck that to Jim had where he nosed it in, but Dave's car suffered quite a bit more damage. Got John Wood in the pits for his final pit stop. Dave Fitzgerald making his final pit stop.
Pick up second place Ian Ditson here.
Yeah, he had quite an uneventful day. Just slow and steady. Well, not slow, but definitely steady. See the cars go over the curbs, they kind of lift up almost like there's a little hump there. And I know the curbs are raised, but it almost looks like there's like dips and raises in the road there. That's a very interesting angle. Never seen it from that in that corner.
It's a nice feeling when you get the bus stop right.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're running any sort of lap tracker and you see everything go green after it when you're doing it good.
Certainly makes up for the world of hurt you have in turn one, at least for me. So you have that little bit of, excitement for the bus stop, and you hope you get turn one right.
Yeah, I think that's just it. I mean, the corners are all tricky. They're not, I think none of the corners are what you'd call typical. And just being able to string them all together and get a whole full lap of good corners, it's so hard to do. It got to make if you were to run like a 24-hour race here, definitely keep you on your toes.
Yeah, certainly going to have to look into doing some endurance racing here. I know Jimmy Broadbent just did his 23 hours of, was it Zandvoort? This past weekend. Nice fundraiser charity event for...
Oh, I saw that. I think he raised like $30,000, didn't he? It was quite a bit.
Yeah, I think, it was about, yep, a nice chunk of change for mental health over there in Europe, or England, and a bevy of well-known sim racers joining him out there. Oh,
yeah, I saw he had an event. I did not see which track it was, but 24 hours of Zandvoort sounds like a lot of work.
It does, and I gather Jimmy didn't go to sleep, so kudos to him.
I don't function well on no sleep, so I probably don't drive well on no sleep.
Actually, it was Zolder.
Zolder, okay. Yeah, Zolder's tricky. It's got a lot of chicanes.
Sixth place, Jim Karamanis, working through a bit of traffic here. John Wood's just ahead of him, so this will be a battle for 5th place here.
Yeah, I still suspect that Darren has to do another pit stop, and he's about 30 seconds in front of these guys. So that could be a race to the end if he only has to take a splash and go. He won't be on pit. He won't be on pit lane long.
Just under 10 minutes remaining here in the first of Season 5's Endurance Series, the Roar 1.2 at Daytona International Speedway. I'm Ian Wisbon, and joining me here in the booth is Steve Ficacci with the VRG Virtual Racer League.
Yep, Jim Karamanis getting closer to John Wood.
Jim qualifying 4th, had a bit of an issue earlier in the race, coming into the bus stop, but has climbed back into it, currently in 6th place. Fighting here for 5th with John Wood. Going with a bit of a bobble there.
I was like, Jim's had great pace, great consistency. It's just for that one mistake, kind of put him in a hole. Coming. Got to run here. 2/10, 1500s, 1/10. See if he can clear him before turn 1. Taking the long way around. He's got it. could have been. Yeah, I'm sure Darren's a bit frustrated with the result, but very curious to hear what his side of the story is when he gets into the booth. Oh boy, hang on to it.
Uh-oh. Race leader Stefan Vapp has come through here in just a moment. See if Darren can get out of the way before Stefan shows up.
Yes, I mean, at this point, if these cars are on, you know, an hour and 10-minute old tires, and they put fuel in it a few times, the car is definitely not going to be feeling as good as it did early in the race. I think the biggest adjustment is the few laps you have out of the pits with the new fuel. You know, it's a very big jump in pace.
I expect Darren will haunt Stefan's mirrors here for these last couple of laps in this race, even though they're not racing for position. Pick up second place Ian Ditson here. He's going to catch a little bit of traffic.
So Darren Treacle's peeling into the pits. He had about a 25-second lead over Jim Karamanis. I don't know if he's able to get out in front of him. Not after he had that spin. Jim Karamanis is now in NASCAR 4. Darren Treacle is just coming to a stop. He's at the end of pit lane. And he's only going to need a splash. He's taking a bit more than a splash, and Jim's got him. Darren's pulling out. You see Darren on the left there. Now this will be for position, not with Ian, but with John Wood in the blue car.
Two-minute warning here for the 75-minute race here, the Roar 1.2. Daytona International currently on board with Darren Treacle in 6th place, trying to catch up to 5th place John Wood here. That's Ian Ditson just ahead in 2nd place. Race leader Stefan Zappa.
I thought that blue car was John Wood. You're right. John Wood's still in front.
Darren immediately quick out of the pits, going purple in his last 3 seconds.
It's so hard to keep track. I'm curious how many guys took tires and whether or not they thought that was an ideal strategy, and if they'll do it next week at Road Atlanta. See what they learned. This is the closest battle on the track, and it's under 3 seconds now.
the closing minutes of this race here. Stefan Vappa getting up onto the super speedway just now, coming out of the bus stop. Riding along with Darren Treacle. That's John Wood just ahead, and Jim Karamanis ahead of John. So this is going to make some exciting stuff here. Closing seconds of this race here. Not sure if we're going to get a white flag. That would be the checker. Checkered flag is out. Darren Treacle's got to run down John Wood and Jim Karamanis before he gets out of the other side of the bus stop.
Yeah, it's a shame. These three cars are shaping up for a little bit of a battle. A couple more laps would make this real exciting.
Pulling out the camera just a bit. On Jim Karamanis as he goes by. John Wood just behind Darren Treacle behind him. Jim Karamanis coming across the finish line to take 4th place here. John Wood's going to take 5th. Darren Treacle's going to take 6th. Excellent bit of racing there towards the end there. It's a shame that we didn't have just a little bit more time, because that was going to be some exciting stuff next lap around.
Yeah, things got a bit stretched out there after the first pit stop, it looked like, and, you know, could have used a little bit more action, and we were getting it. We almost had it.
And rounding out your podium here is Dave Fitzgerald finishing in 3rd place in the Gulf liveried Corvette.
I think Dave will be happy with that.
Dave Curtis finishing in 11th place.
Just waiting on Jake Creel, I think.
Yeah, looks like he just crossed. All around our race winner, Stefan Vappa, taking the first race, Season 5 here in our Endurance Series with the Virtual Racer League with the VRG. The Roar 1.2 at Daytona International Speedway. Flag to flag from Stefan there. Excellent race. 2nd place finisher Ian Ditson. 3rd place Dave Fitzgerald. 4th place Jim Karamanis. 5th place John Wood. And just on the outside Darren Treacle after a rather exciting race there for Darren. Curious to get his thoughts in the post-race, assuming he's going to join us.
Not surprising. I think our first 3 cars all ran mistake-free races. That's what it's going to take in a long race like this. To, you know, you got to be around at the end, and you got to have good pace, and they all did.
Pulling up our race results here, you'll see Stefan Vappa out there winning the race tonight, picking up 43 points. 2nd place, Ian Ditson with 42 points. 3rd place, Dave Fitzgerald, 41 points, followed by Jim Karamanis, John Wood, Darren Treacle, Todd Angel, Jay Creel, Ralph Padgington, Bob Lang, Dave Curtis, Kurt Uzbey, Carlos Bonds, Christian Bergen, and Andrew Granis, who didn't come out and run with us, but still picks up 29 points for qualifying. So we'll jump over here to the broadcast booth, folks. We'll be back with you in just a couple of moments after we get our race finishers in here. It looks like we've got 6th place Darren Treacle, 2nd place Ian Ditson, 4th place Jim Karamanis. We'll look to see if race winner Stefan Vappa is going to join us as well. So we'll be right back, folks. Sit tight. Be right with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ian Wisbon and Steve Ficacci back with you in the broadcast booth here for the VRG VRL Roar 1.2 at Daytona International Speedway. Joining us up here in the broadcast booth, we have race winner Stefan Vappa, 2nd place finisher Ian Ditson, 3rd place finisher Dave Fitzgerald. We've got Jim Karamanis, our 4th place finisher, and Darren Treacle just on the outside of the top 5 there, Darren, but thanks for joining us up here in the booth. Pretty exciting stuff there in those closing laps there. We're going to throw it to Darren first because he was really looking to maybe jump from 6th to 4th there real quick. Darren, a bit of an eventful race for you this evening. Why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, it was a rough race. You know, I messed up a little bit going into the bus stop when I was just hanging out behind Stefan. I guess that's what happens when I don't follow my motto and just send it. I was just trying to be. And then I want to say the big hit was I kind of got thrown off a little bit behind Bob going in through the bus stop, and I cut the track. Got a slow down, didn't slow down in time, so then I got a 41-second stop and go. Then I was trying to be slick to try to go a little bit quicker through the pits. And I changed my buttons around on my wheel, so I didn't hit my limiter in time. So then I got an extra time added for speeding in the pits, and
Someone kicked your cat.
kicked my cat. And then I think I spun later in the race trying to. I just couldn't make it happen tonight, But I do want to say real quick, I tried to, after taking in so much secondhand smoke the other weekend at the Turkey Bowl from our good friends that were smoking cigars for 2-3 hours straight. I tried to get Swisher Sweet on board this evening as a sponsor, but they did not want to join me. So.
Well, you were running that Marlboro livery, so tobacco company, I guess, going to give you a bit of contingency money, even though you didn't crack into that top 5. But Steve and I were sitting up here trying to, understand the pit stop strategy there, and kind of assumed, because we saw you back out of it after the bus stop, that it had been kind of a black flag thing. But Steve, from our point of view up here, at least pretty exciting stuff there at the end for Darren.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask you, at the end, your last pit stop seemed a bit long. Did you take extra fuel? I mean, I thought you'd jump right in and out, have a splash and go, and then be real close to Jim. But it looked like you were in there for longer than I expected you to be.
Well, I didn't realize apparently when my system upgraded or updated that it turned my auto refuel off. So I'm just sitting there waiting, and I'm
Nothing's happening.
Nothing's happening. What's going on? And I didn't realize it. It was too late. So that's what happened there.
Gotcha.
Well, Stefan,
Darren.
Go ahead, John.
See, Darren, you're relying on this modern technology. The analog calculator method is pretty reliable.
Your pit board guy works well, John, for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, my pit board guy is always there.
Well, Stefan, you qualified on pole position. You led this race flag to flag. Why don't you tell us a bit about it today? Looked like you had, for the most part, some pretty open air to be running in, but I think we had at least one code brown going into, I think, turn 3 there. But why don't you give us a rundown of your race this evening, Stefan?
Yeah, there was one moment when I almost threw it all the way in lap traffic. I don't really know who it was that I was lapping. I thought it was one person, then I looked at the relative, and that person was way up the road. But they braked way earlier than I expected, and I just ended up going sideways through a hole that I was hoping was there. It might not have looked sideways, but from my point of view, it was way more sideways than I wanted to be. And
yeah, I didn't think you were sideways, but it looked like your left front was about to go in the grass, and that would have put you straight in the wall.
Yeah, because I swear it's a downhill grass hill right there. Because if you just put half a tire off, it's a long, slow trip to the wall, guaranteed. So yeah, that was heart in throat right there.
And you had a 22-second lead at that point, so it wasn't even like you needed to push. I think it was just more unexpected, maybe.
It was very unexpected. It was I was braking early anyway, but whoever was just in front of me had someone in front of them, and I think they got caught off guard, and it was just a concertina effect. And yeah, that was scary. I was not happy with myself for that one because, like you said, there was that gap that I was able to hold, and I could have spared a couple of seconds here and there. Lesson learned.
Well, exciting there for a moment, but then pretty much smooth sailing from there. We probably should welcome back from college Ian Ditson here, picking up a second place finish. Ian, how was your drive this evening? Looked like it was a pretty laid back affair for the 75 minutes we were out there.
I don't know that you want my relationship with Turn 1 to be a laid back affair. It's a bit of a fist fight there. I cannot figure turn one out for the life of me. But yeah, I guess you could say pretty laid back drive. I didn't have the pace to keep up with Stefan. Probably need to spend more time in the car. Pit stops were pretty spot on though, so that's a plus. But first race back with the series, really, very happy.
I mean, I wasn't really pulling a gap once I got that initial gap. I was looking at our relative times, and they must have been pretty similar because it was a steady gap.
Yeah, I noticed that for a while too, and then I'd make a mistake and it'd go up like 0.5 to a whole second, and yeah. I mean, good race, congratulations, Darren. It happens, right?
Oh yeah, it's racing, man.
Exactly.
Things happen.
You'll be back to your old form next week, I bet.
Well, remember, Daytona is a anomaly.
Yeah, this is not a track that's my friend. I really enjoyed Road Atlanta though, so looking forward to that.
Daytona is a weird one. You can have a good race here and have nothing elsewhere.
Yeah.
We'll throw it over to our third place finisher here, Dave Fitzgerald this evening. Yeah, you had a pretty eventful race. You're the highest finishing Corvette out in the field. Why don't you give us a bit about the Corvette tonight at Daytona and how your race was?
Well, thanks, fellas. Yeah, I was really excited when the Corvette came out, and I finally got around to picking it up just before our practice last week. And I tell you, it surprised me how comfortable I am behind the wheel of this car. And to be honest, I think it has really good fuel economy. I think I was able to get around 18 laps, or had to pit, 18 laps on the tank that we were issued, the 55% full tank. And the tires seemed to hold out for the entire race. Actually, I was turning my fastest laps after the second pit stop. So I was pretty happy with it. I just didn't have the pace myself to catch up to Ian and Stefan, as usual.
Dave, don't worry. You had me scared for a little bit when you were going for like 5 more laps than I had gone, 10 more laps than I had gone on fuel.
Yeah, it did concern me that I was gonna my crew chief was just gonna say, you're out of gas in the bus stop, and but he was pretty spot on, and he I didn't take tires because I thought we could at least make an hour well in tires, but it seems like they could go the whole, maybe another stint, like a 2-hour stint on the tires, which is good because I'm myself and a bunch of other guys are going to do the Daytona 24-hour race in January, which is you're doing 2 hours at a time at least.
Yeah.
Did anybody take tires? Anybody in the group here?
No, not that I know of.
I think someone may have in the race, but I don't think it was intentional.
Oh, yeah,
I could
Jim.
have.
Jim, did you take tires on your first stop? It looked like you were in the pits for quite a bit.
No, I had a black flag for speeding in the pits.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering what happened to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave. We were having just a great race. I don't know how many times we passed each other lap after lap. It was great fun. And unfortunately, my mic wasn't working, so I couldn't talk to you. But yeah, I just went into the pits a little too hot and got a black flag. And I just was running from behind the entire rest of the race after that. It was really disappointed because Dave and I were having a really good time. I was sitting here cackling the whole time. It was great.
And you guys both had moments entering the bus stop. Dave had one when you guys were side by side, and he gathered it up, which I didn't think he could do just because it's a hard spot to do it. And then you had one where you nosed it into the wall, which it looked like you got away with no damage.
Yeah, I don't think I actually touched the wall there, but it was close. I actually ended up going once in the bus stop later after I passed Todd. Mm-hmm. Which meant I was going to have to pass him again, and I decided to take my second pit stop early in hopes I'd leap ahead of him, and it worked out, and I had just enough time in the end to run John down. Was worried I wasn't going to have enough tires to do that, but they held on, just like Dave said. It was amazing. I did not take tires, and I turned my fastest lap right at the end of the race, so surprising.
I remember that bus stop incident too. It was a tank slapper. You know,
Yeah.
it was back and right. I'm really surprised they came out the other end going forwards.
Well, gentlemen, it was some exciting stuff up here in the broadcast booth. I know Steve and I were drooling over that fight there in the last couple of minutes with Darren running down Jim and John. Big difference from the Skippies in the last couple of seasons. I think everybody would agree. It's going to take a bit of getting used to, but here at Daytona in 75 minutes in the car should set us up nicely for Road Atlanta next week. Would everybody agree?
Yep.
I
Bring it on.
I thought it was super fun. I can't wait for the next one.
I thought it was really clean tonight too, compared to how GT3 went.
Yeah, I mean these cars, they don't have the ABS like the GT3 cars, which means they take a little bit more skill to drive. But it shows that the group as a whole has really gone up in skill because it was so much cleaner, really up and down the grid. And when the fast guys were running through for the most part, it was pretty clean tonight. And Daytona helps a lot with that because it's such a huge track. But that was great fun. Good, clean night.
We appreciate everybody joining us up here in the broadcast booth. Ian, are we going to see you again next week?
Yeah, I should be here. I'm not going back to college till January, so Ohio's shut down.
Well, it's good to hear that you'll be back racing with us. I'm sure Steph and Darren, everybody here in the room is going to be looking forward to some close racing next week at Road Atlanta. Steve, any closing thoughts here before we wrap up the broadcast?
No, I think it was a great first race of our GTE machinery and our longer format. Everybody's getting the hang of the pit stops. Just looking forward to next week. I think it'll be even better.
Well, good stuff. Stefan, congratulations on your race win tonight. Ian, on your second place. Dave, your P3. And everybody else that joined us here this evening. Excellent racing and good stuff from Daytona.
Thank you.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
job,
guys.
everyone.
All right, everybody. Well, you guys have a good evening. We're going to close out here. Steve and I will wrap up the broadcast. Everybody have a safe night.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night, boys.
Party. You too.
Good
Thank you
night.
much.
Well, Steve, thanks again for joining me up here in the broadcast booth. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was, like I said, it was a real exciting race, and I think that even though it was the first race with the pit stops and things like that, everybody did a great job, and it's just going to get better.
Definitely. Next week, we're at Road Atlanta. You think you and I should be up here in the broadcast booth? You think maybe we should try and pay somebody to do this so we can go out and have a race?
I think we should try to do it while in the car. Somebody's got a broadcast. We might as well do it.
You know what? Why not? I mean, I'm probably not going to win the race anyway, so we might as well make it interesting.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Well, I'm going to wrap up the broadcast here. Steve, thank you very much for joining us this week. I appreciate it as always. All right, sir. Well, you have a good night, and we'll catch you next week at Road Atlanta, either in the car or out of the car. We'll see.
Yep. Can't wait to find out.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for the VRG Virtual Racer League. Our first race here is Season 5 at Daytona International Speedway, the Roar 1.2. Race winner, Stefan Vappa. Second place, Ian Ditson. Third place, Dave Fitzgerald. We'll be back next Tuesday at the same time, Road Atlanta, for the Petite 1.2. This is Ian Wisman with the VRG VRL. We thank you for joining us out there on YouTube and Facebook land. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends. Catch us next week. And if you want to go sim racing with us, swing by the VRG website, vrgonline.org. Get you in the right place, get you in the driver's seat so you can go out there and have some fun. Everybody have a great week. This is Ian for the VRG signing off.